What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5 because the game has finally come out, and to be honest, I'm completely addicted to it. In fact, as I record this video, I just finished playing the game for literally 15 hours straight. That's not an exaggeration. I played this game so much just today that I ran my controller dead multiple times. But what about this is just so good? Why is it so fun and so engaging? Let's discuss that and dissect this game with a critical eye. Hi, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, I am coming at this from the viewpoint of a super fan. I love Spider-Man a lot. I read the comics, I watch the movies, I've even platinumed the previous games and done every single activity in them, and yet I can definitively say not only is this the best Spider-Man story ever, but I'll go a step further than that and say that this is the best Peter Parker and Miles Morales of all time. So what's so fun about it? Honestly, the freedom in this game is impossible, like straight up. They give you so many new gadgets in this game, like a wingsuit. There's new physics that allow you to instantly swing through the streets at literally hundreds of miles an hour. Because of the power of the PlayStation 5, graphically, it looks so insanely realistic, and you can also instantly swap between Peter Parker and Miles Morales anywhere in the city, or even fast travel to any individual spot on the map. It is difficult to even convey how impressive from a technological standpoint how fun this game is to look at, but that's not what's important. What's actually important is how much of a blast is it to play. So let's discuss the story in a spoiler-free fashion, talk about the really crazy amount of gameplay to this, and end off with some little bits of gripes I have with the game itself. Now, what are we doing here? The previous two Spider-Man games were incredibly good, but let's face it, they were also quite deep. They very much explored the character of Peter Parker. And then in the sequel, we really did just kind of see so much of the life and the conflict of Miles Morales. What's left to explore? Well, they do something very fascinating in this. They kind of bring together everything we've seen in this universe and also really just turn up the pressure to it. As you go through the main story of Spider-Man 2, you face off against a bunch of different villains, both old and new, but the primary antagonists, the major big bads that are actually trying to ruin our day, are of course the people we saw in the trailers, Kraven the Hunter and Venom, the most dangerous of dangerous foes. Now, why are they here? Let's talk about Kraven the Hunter specifically. So, Kraven is a very, very, very messed up individual whose goal it is to try and find and kill the most dangerous creatures or people on the planet. He wants to find a worthy foe, which has brought him to the streets of New York. Because, let's face it, New York seems to be a magnet for weirdos. There's all sorts of people with magical abilities and people that can turn into gigantic sand monsters and stuff like that. So this has managed to catch his attention, and while he's here, you know for a fact that he has to hunt down the Spider-Man. So his army of baddies are actually incredibly tough. I will say that one of the things that surprised me the most about this game is that I died a lot. In the first two games, I'd mess up occasionally. You're going against a boss and it has some quick time event and you get crushed into delicious spider toothpaste. But for the most part, those games were incredibly easy. Now, there is a cost. And most of that comes down to some of the major gadget and gameplay mechanic changes. So let's talk about the combat, because you fight a lot in this game. Like even more than the predecessors, you do a lot of battling. So these people are here to murder. They're not here to make friends. They're not here to arrest you. They're not here to steal technology. They are here to kill. and they're set for the job. When you face off against Kraven's army, they have all sorts of advanced biotech that can just straight up neutralize the shocks of Miles Morales, or they have things like robot drones or robo-dogs that'll actually bite you and tear you up pretty dang bad, or even just traps that will shoot out gas. These guys are tough, but that brings me to the parry system. So in the previous games, you just punched people or you dodged people, and then you webbed them up. Now, there is a special system where as somebody is about to hit you, if you tap L1, you'll deflect their blows. Now, a lot of these enemies are made so you have to parry them. There's this extra focus on timing to these fights that feels pretty good. I will admit, it took me a bit to kind of adapt to it, just because, after putting like 65 hours into the previous two games combined, the thought of going into this, I wasn't exactly acclimated to the idea of catching a blow instead of just dodging it. But once you sort of adapt, it does feel good. Now, the biggest change to the fight flow is that there's a lot of gadgets that you're inventing in this. Things that'll automatically shoot out webs or blast people up in the air or things like that. And a lot of these are basically required. A lot of these enemies have specific weaknesses. If you manage to duck between their legs or blast them back or hit them with a big shock strike, a lot of times everybody has a weakness, but some enemies actually require specific gadgets or attacks. It's cool though, because it makes it where it almost has this chess-like vibe where you can't just mindlessly punch everybody. You actually have to think about it and critically go, okay, there's a bunch of minions. I'm going to super attack, fry like 10 of them. But once I come down to the big baddies, I have to think about how to parry, how to dodge, when I want to retreat or try and do a stealth attack. I like that, but the other half of the new gadgets is the fact that we're dealing with a much better equipped Peter Parker and Miles Morales. They have wingsuits. You can fly. You can straight up just fly. Now, there's cool wind current tunnels that you can just literally just shoot through the streets. There's times where there's updrafts that'll just skyrocket you. The flying feels incredible. Like, you can fast travel to any square inch of the city, but I never did. It was so fun to just be able to fly, especially because a lot of times you can fly across the water and stuff. This never stops being fun. Even 25 hours into it, it is just such a thrill to literally open up your wings and go soaring. But I also gotta say, the PlayStation 5 technology, I feel like you can actually get the vibe that things are different because of the speed of stuff. Like when you're fighting, because of the power of the PlayStation 5, there'll be like 15 or 20 enemies on screen at once, each independently attacking you, sniping you, flanking you, trying to overwhelm you. Or when you're swinging, the previous games, sometimes they'd make you swing slow, and I've always kind of thought that's because they're trying to build the city ahead of you, but now we don't have those technical limitations. You can really go incredibly fast to your heart's content, and the game will instantly load it. This is truly one of those games that feels special as you're playing it, as you get a chance to find random side quests, or even just rescue random civilians. It always feels great. It always feels like you are the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But there is one downside to this. Now, it's not a problem for me, but one of the things that people severely despised with the previous Spider-Man games was the Mary Jane missions. Occasionally, you'd have to play as Mary Jane and just be a normal person. You'd very slowly creep around or take pictures, and it wasn't exactly exciting. There is a couple Mary Jane missions in this. Now, thankfully, she actually has a taser this time around, so she can fight, and she does get some other gadgets here and there. I don't think these are bad but they do still feel like a weird choice. I mean, this game is very narrative focused, and I think that it's so engaging to watch the interactions between Peter Parker and Miles Morales, or them talking to Mary Jane, or Miles' little girlfriend at school, or his buddy that's like on the comms, or when they talk to Harry Osborn and stuff like that, or go on a bike ride. Those interactions are so well fleshed out. So I understand the Mary Jane missions, but I do still feel like I kind of wish I had the choice to skip them. I still don't think I would have, but I would have liked the option at times not to have to sneak around all these Kraven minions and hit them with my magical space taser. But let me actually talk a bit more about the plot itself and then discuss some of the upgrade trees, because this is a game with a lot of surprises in it. Now, you'll notice I'm not showing anything about Venom, and it's because really I can't. The Venom stuff you saw in the trailer is pretty much the only safe Venom stuff to show you. The rest is very, very spoilery. But obviously, if there's Venom, you know that we're talking about Black Suit Spider-Man. We're talking about Spider-Man with crazy, messed up, dark abilities. This is probably the part of the game that I was the most nervous about, because a lot of times, if you're making a storyline where, oh no, the hero is getting corrupted, oh, the superhero is possibly becoming a supervillain, sometimes I do feel like those have to be done exactly right. Spider-Man 2, they really did evil Peter Parker well. It's cool playing as him as he's being corrupted, as he's feeling the darkness take him over, and getting a chance to switch back and forth between Miles Morales and Peter Parker, hearing the other characters kind of reflect upon or even confront Peter Parker about his behavior is such an interesting choice. But they also did something extra here. I think they differently mocapped stuff. I think they actually animated Peter Parker with the black suit separately than the fights where he doesn't have it. When you fight people and you have the suit on, I think Peter Parker is killing people. He's like beating them up so hard. The crunch sounds definitely don't just sound like they're going to the ER. These bitches are going to the funeral home. But that's kind of what's cool about it. I really did just relish the interactions of watching these characters deal with Venom, their fights among each other, or going against Kraven and the other villains and the other heroes that show up. And I enjoyed all of that. But I have to say, one of the things that caught me the most off guard as a fan is there are these flashbacks to high school Peter Parker hanging out with a young, very fresh-faced Harry Osborn. We see the beginning of their friendship, but also the first year that Spider-Man was Spider-Man. Now, I don't want to show too much of it, but this is just cool to me because from a lore perspective, it's nice that we're seeing advanced, adult, after college Peter Parker, a very advanced Spider-Man, and then also that cool, interesting rawness when he was first figuring out his web swingers and stuff like that. I love the duality that this game manages to do. It's just such a complete package. And this also goes for the upgrade system. One of my very few gripes with the previous games is that the upgrade tree was just too altogether mishmashed. I mean, in the upgrade trees, you'd have stuff like extra combo moves or the ability to hit harder and stuff like that. Now, there is separate trees where there's skill point trees where as you're leveling up, you can get additional, basically combo hits or change your special moves. You can also separately upgrade your gadgets or spend hero tokens to upgrade your passive skills, just making it so you deal more damage or you have more health. It's brilliant that they broke this game into chunks so you can do whatever you want. Are you in the mood to do side quests? You can track down a bunch of fire-based cultists. Do you want to just do some mindless collectibles? Track down Prowler suit prototypes. Oh, do you want to try and see some cool mystery stuff? Well, there's weird Spider-Man tech that kind of seems like it might be from a future Spider-Man. Go find those. There is so much in this. And that's not even talking about the 18 different million tiny side mini games, from going on carnival rides to actually building spider tech and rescuing firefighters trapped in buildings. This is such a big version of New York. The map is twice as large. There's twice as many heroes. There's twice as many villains. This is truly Spider-Man 2. I love it. I mean, seriously, the only critique I could possibly give is that I do wish we got more Venom. I don't think I can say more than that, but let's just say Venom is in the game. Venom is great. His lines are fantastic. He looks fantastic. He's very cool. I just wish we had a bit more of him. But that's all I'm going to say. Okay, now we have to do the hard part. We've heard a lot of good and a teensy tiny bits of bad. Let's go over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5 a 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh my gosh, this was just truly, I thought this game was going to be good, but nothing could have prepared me for it being this good. Insomniac, you guys are going to break your back carrying the PlayStation, but keep it up. God, I'm so ready for the Wolverine game now. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.